Welcome everyone. Happy Monday. I'm the Grace Strega and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Monday, November 18th, 2024. What do we have coming through in the cards for today? May I please have the first two cards in our 5-card spread? We've got 3 cards zipping out of the deck. So we're going to read the first 3 cards that we're seeing right now, but I need to stress this because this is very important. What are we talking about right now in relationality to some of this energy? It's incongruous. It's incongruous because a lot of this energy right now we see working through some of that bittersweetness, navigating that journey. It's heavy, right? Look at this energetic heaviness here. We've got here, this is that Taurus energy. A lot of that weight, a lot of that density, right? At the same time, feeling a little bit of that energetic uptick at the same point. A lot of that amplification of positivity. So if you're finding yourself right now feeling like a little back and forth, if you're feeling a lot of that energetic weight right now, I want you to understand that that's very much the vibe right now energetically. You might be feeling like you're moving back and forth through modalities right now. But what is important, right? What is important when we feel a lot of different modalities, but we're able to stay energetically focused? That's pathwork of integration. That's pathwork of integrity. So that ability of feeling a lot of that positive or negative right now, it may be feeling like, and this is some of that full moon hangover we were talking about, it may be feeling like it's coming in waves. It may be feeling like it's coming in waves. But that turbulence, right? Working through that energetic turbulence, it builds one's own sense of focus. Because when you are working through that pathwork of integrity, what does a pathwork of purpose say? It doesn't necessarily navigate, like it's not about what you're navigating. It's about the direction that you're moving towards. And so we see even now that ability of experiencing that, but feeling a lot of that steadfastness. This is the gift. This is the similarity, if you will, between Scorpio and Taurus energy. Because both of those energies, they're very tenacious, right? They're very good at navigating forward to a certain extent. But you'll remember, what did we talk about in relationality to how these forces navigate or experience change? The Scorpio energy wants to be adaptable. The Scorpio energy almost says everything can be navigated so long as one is adaptable. There's nothing that one cannot navigate so long as you're embracing that force of change. The Taurus energy moves in this different modality. Taurus energy navigates change by amplifying further inflexibility. This is the energy that says if someone requires you to change, you stay even more steadfast in relationality to how you do something. So we can see even now how some of this feeling feels energetically oppositional. And this could be a lot of I want to say, refocusing, planning, maybe coming very, very much to the surface here. And that has a lot to do with, again, some of that Mercury retrograde energy that we're seeing that's adding a very heavy level of nostalgia to a lot of this sentiment. Now, for masculine and feminine, deep within divine union, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. A lot of this adaptability, it feels very much like solution. It feels like problem solving. It feels very much like Band-Aid ripping. It feels very much like working through a point of difficulty, but understanding and recognizing that the only way out is through. And sometimes by tackling something energetically heavy, you can immediately move yourself into a place of positivity. Right? So this is actually a little bit of that departure point that we're seeing now that full moon is moving away, because we're moving back into the Scorpio energy that says like address the hard part so one can make the energetic changes necessary in order to facilitate towards pathwork here, right? So this could be a lot of gravitas that is happening, taking something more serious conversations, right? Working into that. But all those serious conversations that are amplifying and articulating upon that force of change. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, this is why I was saying that this is something, this type of energetic signature that we're seeing right now, this is either fortifying energetic connections. I can even see a lot of energy deep within divine union, potentially feeling the weight of the gravitas of the deepening of a connection at this time. And this is the energy that is feeling that sense of prioritization, that heavy weight that often enters when we recognize the intensity that we feel for a counterpart, that starts to reorient, starts to change one's own energetic direction. Because I see even now some energy that is moving deeper into partnership, making choices. I see even now there could be energy that's like moving into a deepening of an energetic connection at this time because of their own ability to navigate hardship, right? This is the energy that feels like they went through something difficult, and via the ability of carrying something together and being adaptable and making that change, it's fortifying that sense of seriousness and maybe even adjusting and accommodating for those plans. But I will say right now, I'm also recognizing that last week may have been fundamental in identifying what feels like it cannot change. Disparities on what one holds as a priority point. Because particularly and especially, one of the things that we saw that was coming through heavily with this energy of the Taurus moon and Scorpio has to do with nuance, right? And if this is the energy that like can't read the room in their own partnerships or in their own connections, a lot of that heightened sensitivity, if you will, it may have felt like the repeating of a problem, right? And the repeating of an energetic cycle in something that isn't necessarily getting better, but is kind of in that place of rotationality as it relates to the opposition between you and an energetic counterpart. And this is why we see even now, this is that type of energy that like brings something really, really like that weight added can really integrate path work, or it can fundamentally separate it. And a lot of this energy that may have moved into separation, this is why the energy feels like some of that separation may be fundamental at this time. Because the observation in moving into separation and identifying the ability of not seeing, not being on the same page with someone, having a different fundamental opinion as another, working through that pathwork of recognition to a certain extent. And I see even now, I want to point this out. I see some energetic connections of someone saying, it's not a big deal. Are you really going to come into separation over this? And another person being like, it is the most important thing. A lot of that disparity, if you will, that we're recognizing. But that disparity is really important because this is the energy that is recognizing and identifying valuable things about long-term pathwork or long-term goals. That one, and I see it even now, like this is the energy that's moved closely enough towards one another that they're seeing each other clearly. And that ability of seeing each other clearly, this is why some of that energy moving into separation feels reinforced or encouraged in that pathwork. Because this is the energy that may be stepping away from a partnership, and it may be painful. It may be devastating. But it's devastating because they know that it's moving them back in alignment in the direction they know they need to head towards. Continuing to get clarification. Fourth and fifth card in our 5-card spread before we start getting clarification on these cards right now. We have here our 8 of Cups in its upright in combination with our 5 of Cups in its upright. This is heavy. This is heavy energetically. This is like I said, I just keep getting bittersweet, bittersweet, bittersweet here. Why is this bittersweet? It's a combination of the Scorpio and the Taurus energy, right? Because that significance, that amplification of stabilization that we're seeing here, this is a lot of the energy that in separation, I want to identify, feels like they're having breakthroughs. Why is there energy in separation that are having breakthroughs? Because we spoke about last week, if these are modalities wherein energy is coming towards new connections, and someone in that connection says that a strength, right, the strength that you have, another identified as a weakness, right, that ability of identifying that feeling that sense of alignment. I see even now two different modalities of energy and separation. I see energy that's just moved into separation, potentially over something about prioritization. What one person feels is fundamental versus what another feels is not energetically necessary, right? A lot of that gravity, arguments about the gravity of things is what is leading a lot of energy into separation right now. So that's why I see even now a lot of that energy feeling the frustration of another not holding the same sense of gravitas on something that the self does, right? That doesn't move you back into the direction, because that's the energy that feels like that fundamental aspect of the self is what is bringing them forward. Whereas I also see that there's some energy right now that is in separation, that is receiving strength, right? Holding something energetically in a different way. Someone potentially saying to you, again, why are you apologizing for something that you're strong, that's your greatest strength? And in that moment that someone says to you, why are you apologizing for something that is your greatest strength? You recognize that some partnerships are not for you because you're too energetically strong to be within them. So this is a lot of the energy that's feeling their own strength by observing the fragility of a past connection. That's bittersweet. For energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that is feeling the gravitas of moving deeper into partnership. And there is a surrendering process that's happening here. Why is this energy bittersweet? They're surrendering the past version of self. We spoke about this at length when we were reading for the cards last week. The process of transformation. This is why transformation isn't for everyone. This is why partnership isn't for everyone. Because that recognition that as we change, we can never go back to the person that we were. That we in a way are effectively continually surrendering that past version of self towards the highest version of self, right? I see even now a lot of that energy coming into divine union right now is going through some journey of like grieving the past version of self. But in that sense, but I want to say this is the energy that doesn't feel that weight of sadness to a certain extent for what they're leaving behind. They're moving into that state of energetic gratitude, because this is the energy that is surrendering the parts of themselves that aren't in alignment with the self as they move towards the highest version of self along the way, right? There's a lot of that. I want to say a lot of the energy coming into divine union is holding that pathwork preciously, right? Because that is the journey of love, right? That it's like that journey of love often feels like that continual space of departure. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, deep within divine union, so much of this energy that I'm seeing right now that is deep within divine union, a lot of it here, I'm just recognizing this is the energy that is coming into those points of accommodation. These are those energies that are working through those pathworks of adaptability. And I see even now that for a lot of that energy, feeling the frustration, right? Working through the energetic frustration in relationality to what you can change within partnership versus what is outside of the self to navigate. This is a lot of the energy that doesn't, that navigates their own sense of frustration and grief, but almost sweetly, because this is the energy that, again, holds forth and prioritizes what that pathwork is. And even here, like that sense or that space of identifying and articulating the changes, there's a lot of that conversation I'm seeing as it relates to pathwork and planning here. But a lot of that energy, I want to say even now, it feels like taking negatives and moving them into positives. It feels like a lot of that type of work here. Continuing to get clarification between our 9 of Swords in its upright in combination with our 2 of Swords in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our 10 of Cups in its reversal. Now, I told you, this is some of that, I'm going to tell you even now, this is a lot of that full moon hangover that we're experiencing. We get this. We get this with the, and I'm not surprised to see this either, because this was a very dense full moon. That was like the message that was coming through. It was a very dense full moon. It was a lot to navigate. But I see even now working through that, facilitating upon that path work. This is the energy deep within divine union that doesn't allow oneself to get frustrated, right? What happens as this energy navigates frustration? They get more focused. They work towards prioritization. There's a lot of this energy deep within divine union right now that is taking those negatives and moving them into positives. Because again, that is the gift of the Scorpio energy, which is a sense or the space of identifying that nothing is negative so long as you're in that space of being adaptable, that everything can kind of move towards you to a certain extent, so long as one keeps one's own prioritization point focused on what one is trying to do. So there's a lot of this energy here of the work of a lot of the focus right now deep within divine union is almost that sense or space of like turning straw into gold, if you will. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, that same sense, I just keep seeing here, there's some energy coming into divine union. It's giving me a little bit of this like, oh no, I fell in love kind of energy. It's giving me a little bit of this like, oh no, I fell in love kind of energy, because this is the energy that is feeling the gravitas of a connection, right? This is the energy that's feeling that weight, the weight that is added into partnership. And a lot of that I see even now, some of that work, someone wrestling with that. This is a lot of that, energy, like, feeling, and I want to say even now, like when you feel that weight that's added, as long as the counterpart's feeling it too, this is why I see even now a lot of energy that is becoming like much more like there's some deep shifting that's happening now, because that feeling of looking towards counterpart and seeing that same weight, feeling that same drop, if you will, as it relates to the like they're saying a lot, like the best way I can describe what I'm seeing here is like the energy that we often experience in the higher chakra is excitement. When it moves deeper into kind of the solar plexus, it's the sense of the intuition that articulates that there's something very real that is occurring here. So a lot of that energy building into the reality of the weight of what one feels towards counterpart. I see even now that there's some energy that's changing their plans. They're making some of those accommodation points, because this is the energy that is feeling the weight of a partnership. But it's not that weight that feels like it moves you away from something. It feels like it brings you into greater focus of the self and what one's own priorities are. And this is why I see even now that if there's some energy here that is moving away from someone at this time, this is why it feels so fundamental. Because this is the energy that may be feeling or navigating the experience of another who tries to come into that, like I told you, someone talking about the weight of something, another person being like, no, it's not heavy, and someone being like, this is real, and someone being like, it's not that real to me, like that argumentation point. Like, I think what I'm also seeing here is for a lot of this energy that may be moving into separation at that time, the reason something here may feel frustrating is feeling like someone doesn't take something seriously enough, right? That's all I keep seeing with this energy moving immediately into separation right now. And that's why I see the energy is feeling so frustrated that's coming into divine union right now. Because if these are argumentations on density, be it about fundamental principles or the nature of the partnership, I can see even now a lot of that energy feeling validated in being in separation, because some of the energy may be feeling like someone is in that space where they're not ready to choose the same priority as the counterpart. Like a lot of the energy being like, I don't doubt that they recognize how heavy that is, but they're trying to energetically avoid it. They're in denial. I see a lot of energy in separation going, they're in denial, and that's why they're so frustrated, right? They're trying to deny the energetic weight of something. While for masculine, and this is why I see even now that some of that energy, that point of restoration, that recognition of deniability, wherein someone is like, someone can be, and this is why I see a lot of this energy in separation, just like healing in a profound way. like looking at something and being like, yeah, someone can be in a state of deniability their entire existence, right? Like someone can be in a state of deniability their entire existence. You can avoid something, right? Taurus energy, I gotta say, no, if like Taurus energy, if you're out here, you're good at like going like this, like me. But that's why I see even now these fundamental moments, like Scorpio wants to face something head on, right? Scorpio wants to face it head on. Taurus wants to be like, eh. So like a lot of that work here, this is why I see so much of this healing that's coming through, because it is the argumentation in how one tackles difficulty, right? Like I even see some energy like going into separation and being like, run, you coward, because it's that sense or space of saying to someone like, I'm ready to tackle this, and you're running in the opposite direction, right? Continuing to get clarification, but I see even now like there's something very fortifying that is occurring right now in some of these connections, in feeling the validation of making energetic connections that stand in the same point of confidence. Continuing to get clarification between our Two of Swords in its reversal in combination with our Four of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now. This is makes perfect sense. We've got here our Page of Cups. What are we talking about right now in relationality? In relationality to volatility based upon gravity. And I don't mean gravity like gravity. I mean like the weight of something, the density, the importance of something. Right? And so I see even now a lot of this energy and separation that is going through some deep healing, right? It's like it's that frustration point in relationality to how one approaches things, right? To how one navigates something. Because I see even now, I see someone who's like carrying that weight, that's feeling the intensity of an energetic connection or observing it and being like, yeah, I can feel the weight of it. But there's someone else here who's like, holding it energetically lightly. And this is that, and again, this is why so much of this energy and separation is in that modality of healing from an energetic connection in that way. Because this is the energy that remembers and amplifies that ability of sharing weight. The relationships that work are the relationships that have an equal distribution of energetic weight, spiritually, emotionally. It doesn't have to be exact, but it has to be, you have to share the energetic burden to a certain extent, and you have to recognize that such a burden is there. And so I see even now, that's what I meant about some of this energy and separation getting their strength back. Because if this is an energy that felt like everything they did, someone was articulating to them that it was wrong, or putting more weight on them. And suddenly in that modality of someone saying or amplifying and saying, no, I'm not strong with that, another person that they're coming into contact with in separation going, what are you talking about? You're the strongest person I've ever met, right? This is a lot of that energy that like suddenly feels that amplification in the recognition of someone holding something preciously that someone else took for granted, right? Because when we take something for granted, what do? We do not appreciate it. And so we see even now that modality of coming into a point of appreciation, it feels very energetically stabilizing, but it's difficult, right? It's difficult in the process because this is the energy that amplifies and articulates and feels that sense or that space of identifying what one can change within the self versus what one has to accept outside of the self. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is a lot of that energy that is feeling the changes within the self. This is a maturation process that we see that is occurring for energy moving deeper into divine union at this time. Because and I want to say there's some of this energy that was like almost saying to themselves coming into divine union, I was trying to deny my feelings. I was trying to deny my energetic feelings. I can see the energy here, but they're taking accountability for it. Look, there's energy here coming into divine union that is articulating to counterpart. I was in energetic denial of my feelings, right? Like there's this right here. And that is the energy, right? Those are the connections that are feeling stabilized, like grounded in this modality, because being able to see yourself, right? To be able to see yourself with clarity is the gift of energetic connection. So I see a lot of this energy that is coming into connection right now by articulating upon the past self and the past self's refusal to want to acknowledge or take accountability for the energetic weight of something, right? That's what I meant about this being a little bit of a maturation process for the energy coming into divine union. While for the energy right now deep within divine union, this is all the ability of trying to take something heavy and make it feel light. This is like a lot of the energy deep within divine union saying, again, nothing is too hard so long as we prioritize the same things, right? This is the energy saying, so long as we both have this, so long as we're moving in that space of focusing on the same energetic priority, nothing is going to be too heavy because we're going to share that energetic burden in the process. Continuing to get clarification between our Four of Wands in its upright and our Eight of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Fool card in its reversal. I like this. It's not, listen, it's not like I gotta stress this. This isn't the fun, this is not the funnest energy. It's not the funnest energy, right? But it's fortifying. It's strengthening, right? And a lot of that work, a lot of that process, right? And I'll put it this way: Scorpio, Taurus, full moon, change with pressure. Change and pressure, right? Scorpio is change, Taurus full moon is pressure. So that's how you make diamonds. I just want to point that out. That's how you make diamonds. Change and pressure. Boom. So a lot of this energy right now, working through that, this is the gift that I see, and this is the articulation that the counterparts are saying to one another deep within divine union, right? Which is that sense or that space and almost saying to one another, when things get difficult, we get more tenacious, right? When the going gets hard, we get harder, right? That ability of looking and saying to one another, it's not a question of how one does something, it's just a question of what it energetically takes. This is a lot of that energy that is encouraging one another along the way, because this isn't the energy that is carrying the weight of the counterpart. This is the energy that says to one another, as long as we carry that weight between us, there is nothing that we cannot energetically do. And that brings us to a lot of the energy right now that is coming into divine union. Because if this energy coming into divine union right now is looking back, I see a lot of the energy coming into divine union right now and looking back at the past version of self and saying, I was being selfish then. I was prioritizing my own needs. I was thinking primarily upon the pathwork of the self. I want you to be kind to yourself if you're navigating that. Because when we're in that modality, there's parts of our pathwork that require us to be very focused on our own personal pathwork. But if this is the energy that's suddenly looking back at a past version of self and feeling like that past version of self did not have their priorities straight, this is the energy that I feel like is getting that, oh no, I've fallen in love energy. This is the energy getting a little of that, oh no, I've fallen in love energy, because this is the energy looking back at a past version of self and going, I can't be that person anymore. I'm not that person. I'm no longer, I see the energy going, I'm no longer fun. This is the energy going, I'm no longer fun. I'm sorry, old self. I'm no longer fun. Because this is the energy that's going, I'm seeing things. I have a different opinion on what energetic fun is. I see things in a different way, right? And I see even now, like that is the energy that, like I see, this is energy that's preparing to move partnership into a deepening level of commitment. Because this is the energy. This is not that the energy here isn't fun. It's that the energy moving into divine union has a different priority point. They're prioritizing and valuing the energetic connection. And a lot of that energetic prioritization point, I see even now, this is like, this is the energy about to take, like, I want to say like a big step. I see energy here, like preparing to take some kind of big step. And that's like a lot of that work that I see on the path work. This isn't the energy just moving into something haphazardly. This is a lot of that energy that stays very focused on that journey, that stays very like, that really like identifies and recognizes what that is and what that means and what that signifies. While for a lot of this energy right now in separation, this is why I told you, do you see how some of these separations may have formed right now? And this could be a lot of energy articulating this in new energetic connections. What do we see here? We see a little bit of this like vice versa. We see a little bit of this topsy-turvy here. This is a lot of energy saying something that I thought was very important, another person was taking too energetically lightly. Something I felt like had a lot of gravity, another energy was not in that space of valuing in the same way. So that's why I see some of these these separations that are happening right now. They may feel like they're fundamental, but another person is mad because I could see someone being like, I thought something was fundamental and they were treating it trivially, right? I thought that there was something in there that required a lot of gravity, and this person was in that modality where it didn't feel like it was. So we see even now, like a lot of that explanation is, again, the amplification of the energy in strength, regaining their strength if they're moving back into path work, where someone says, sounds to me like you were too energetically strong to be in a connection. Sounds to me that you and another person had different priorities, right? And there's a lot of healing that I see that's occurring for the energy and separation going through that. But healing is frustrating, right? Healing can be very frustrating because it doesn't fix something, it clarifies. Continuing to get clarification between our Eight of Cups in combination with our Five of Cups. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. Four of Swords in its reversal. There's a lot of emotion here. There's a lot of emotional unpacking, right? I just see that, a lot of that sense or that space. And this here, this card right here, this is that Mercury retrograde shadow period that we have ourselves in right now. Like a lot of that energetic revisitation, if you will, right? Revisiting something, seeing why do we revisit things? Because we can get further clarity. This is the Scorpio energy of the Mercury retrograde shadow in Scorpio, because again, Scorpionic energy does not hold on to things because they want to make things more bitter. Scorpions don't hold on to the past because they want to create bitterness. Scorpions carry things forward because Scorpions find that the antidote is often carried forward in something that you've taken from the past, right? That's why the Scorpios hold the past so preciously. It's why the Scorpios don't let go of things, because they're like, maybe I need this. Maybe this will create the antidote if I bring it far enough in my own energetic journey. So we see even now that there's something profoundly healing right now that's occurring in that observation of the past, because it's in the observation and recognition of how much one has changed. That understanding is coming to the surface. But that understanding, and this is the poison that becomes antidote, is bittersweet. Because that observation and recognizing what was fundamentally wrong with something, it's clarifying. It builds that context of understanding what one needs to change going forward. But it doesn't change the fact that the past is the past. It makes that, there's a lot of energy right now in separation, coming to terms with the fact, like the fundamental path work that required them to move away from something at the beginning, like from the start. Like I see even now there's some energy, and there's a lot of that nostalgia, and I can see even now, I can see energy being nostalgic for a past that they say that they cannot return to because they've changed so much along the way. They recognize and identify that I see someone saying in separation, even if I could go back, I would not make the same choices. I'm no longer the same person. I don't see things in the same way. And this is fortifying to a lot of that energy that's in the, like, navigating forward in new energetic connections, because I see a lot of that energy building into healthy connections by articulating upon those lessons, right? This is the energy that's recognizing one another along the way, because this is an energy going, I don't want to talk about that. I would prefer not. I see a lot of energy going, no, it doesn't, I can talk about it. It's hard. Like I can see the energy in separation going, it's painful, but it's a pain I carry. And by expressing or sharing it, I heal it. I see the energy like unpacking a lot of that to a certain extent in these new connections. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, this is the energy that's identified and recognized the changing of priority. I just keep seeing that there's a lot of energy that is building forth into a connection is taking so much weight is becoming so significant that a lot of this energy may be navigating that moment of feeling their priorities changing and saying, I cannot go back because I'm no longer the person I was when I even entered this connection. And that's not a negative. I want to say that that's not a negative. I don't say that like a negative. I don't say that like I'm no longer, like that's the energy of looking back at the past version of self. Like the wise fool that looks at the past version and says like, I still don't know what I'm doing, right? I still don't know what I'm doing because I don't know, I've never come this far before, right? So that's the energy that says, I feel foolish as I navigate this path work, but I'm not in the modality of being a fool because I'm moving forward with energetic wisdom and I'm looking back at the past version of self and saying, I got notes. I got some notes. While for masculine and feminine deep within divine union right now, this is a lot of, this is beautiful because this is a lot of the energy that may be articulating and speaking towards how much they've changed coming like within their own journey. You'll notice that the energy coming into divine union now and the energy deep within divine union are having very much similar conversations because I see even now there's something very important in relationality to what feels fundamental. And I see even now that a lot of that work in doing so, this is the energy that says to one another deep within divine union, you are my energetic peace. And that is the energy that says that ability of creating peace for one another allows us to navigate any energetic adversity. Because this is, I just keep hearing the energy deep within divine union saying, you are my peace. What other peace could I be seeking? Continuing to get clarification, and that's the piece that is precious. Continuing to get clarification between 10 of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Page of Cups in its upright. One card to clarify, please. King of Wands in its reversal. Now, this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. For masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, one of the things that we're effectively seeing right now, one of the things that we're seeing has to do with that recognition and that definition. I see a lot of masculine energy right now, just like seeing how much they've changed, like you've changed, not in a negative way. You know, I'm almost seeing that like for so much of this masculine energy right now, there's a lot of that, I just see a lot of masculine energy being very nostalgic as it relates to past versions of self, you know? And what's beautiful about that is this is the energy that looks back to the past version of self and says, I've got notes. And what's cute about it is I see a lot of the masculine energy being like, and this is what I meant with this combination force of like the Fool card in its reversal and the King of Wands in its reversal. Because this is the energy of masculine being like, that person didn't know what they were doing. I mean, bear in mind, I have no idea what I'm doing now, but that person, I know exactly what that person was doing wrong. Like, this is a self-referential point of the masculine being like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I've got notes for the past version of self because their priorities were all over the place. Like, but I like this because this is the masculine and point of healing. When we are in a point of healing, we're perpetually humble. Because we don't feel like we know anything, right? Like I see a lot of the masculine energy right now, being deep within divine union and healing and being like, the one thing I know is I don't know anything. like I don't, but in that space, like you see that constant student, this is the energy of masculine saying, I am a perpetual student. And that ability of doing so, this is how the masculine is like healing some kind of past version of self. Because I see even now, that's a masculine energy almost saying like, I don't know much, but I do know one thing that is pivotal, which is my directionality towards my energetic counterpart, right? Like this is the energy saying what can we build our axis point on? Like what can we build? Like when we feel unsteady, the beauty of love is that it, like I told you, it gives you that weight, you know, like that's the positive weight. That's that happy anchor, if you will, because that's the energy that feels anchored, able being able, this is like masculine energy doing shadow work, because when you do shadow work, you need something to energetically anchor you. So if you're able to anchor in that point of love, if you're able to anchor in that thing, that those spaces or places of what like creates stability, this is a lot of that energy of the Tauran full moon that feels like it becomes a positive versus a negative. And I see even now that that's a lot of the energy that's happening both deep within divine union and the energy coming into divine union. But this is also why some of the energy coming into separation right now, there could be so much feminine energy that is frustrated. Because if this is masculine energy in that modality, feeling that change, feeling that weight, feeling that anchor, and going, oh no, an anchor, and like tries to run away from it. Everything is about perception, right? That ability of masculine being like, oh no, I'm changing, like that kind of energy here. Like this is a lot of the energy of the feminine that's healing along the way, because if this is the feminine that saw the masculine at that moment of gravity occurs, starting to act chaotically, this is more of that amplification that feminine has. And again, the remembering that you can't bring someone on their own healing journey. You can't drag someone onto their own healing journey. They have to be able to navigate it and see it as such, or else it always feels oppositional. It always feels energetically confusing, right? And so a lot of that path work here, what's difficult, I see a lot of the feminine energy in separation being like, oh no, I could tell you exactly what happened. Like I see a lot of the feminine in separation telling new energetic counterparts, oh no, let me tell you exactly what was happening. But that person couldn't acknowledge it or see it because they were in that modality of trying to come into that place of like, and this is the energy of the feminine going, I couldn't tell if they were trying to avoid it because they didn't want to see it, if their ego was like, here, don't look. Or if that was the energy that was like trying to energetically avoid their own pathwork of healing, right? Like, so I see even now, like there's a lot of that like understanding or that qualification point that's arriving there. And for masculine in separation, this is for a lot of the masculine energy in separation. This is a lot of masculine energy in separation right now that I see is becoming much more focused on your own energetic journey. I see a lot of the masculine energy in separation looking back at past versions of self and saying, like, again, much like the energy deep within divine union, I've got notes. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm getting closer. This is a lot of the energy of masculine in separation. So a lot of the masculine energy is alignment right now across the frequencies. And again, a lot of that active listening here, a lot of that sense of being like observational, a lot of that sense or space of working through. And I will say here, I got to stress this could lead, and I got to just warn you guys, because we're in that Mercury retrograde shadow period. Don't assume right now. Don't make assumptions based upon how someone is articulating versus how they feel, because a lot of this energy, that path work or that recognition, the only thing that's making me a little nervous here is that ability of seeing, like this is saying to me, masculine energy is feeling a little clumsy right now in relationality to feeling the weight of something and trying to make it lighter, right? So we see even now that so much of that work that's occurring here, I'm getting here masculine having a hard time communicating something, feeling like a little like stumbling blocks in relationality to something that they feel, but trying to put it into words to a certain extent. Continuing to get clarification between our Page of Cups in combination with our Fool card in its reversal. One card to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Knight of Swords. There's a lot of this is and this is what I mean even now. For some of the energy in separation right now, for the energy in separation right now, this is going to have a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And I think what we're really seeing here is just a reminder that like we are in a Mercury retrograde period. Now, again, you know how I feel about retrogrades. I think retrogrades are gifts. I'm not going to, it's not something like, but it can create challenging spaces, particularly in the realms of communication. For masculine energy right now, and we were talking about this last week, there's something that's occurring for a lot of the healed masculine energy and separation that feels like frustration towards other masculine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And a lot of it, I keep getting the message of the distribution of weight of the healing journey. Because of this, I feel like I just hear some energy of masculine in separation, looking towards other masculine, saying, I'm carrying you on my back. And it's like a lot of that masculine energy in that same space of empathy for feminine. Like there's a lot of this work that I see even now is very energetically fundamental, because I see a lot of that masculine energy and separation that feels very much in alignment with feminine as it relates to aspects of the journey, but at the same time recognizing and identifying to a certain extent, I see the masculine energy and separation being protective of the feminine, but not trying to be prescriptive towards feminine. It's a fine, like the masculine, like I see a lot of masculine in separation feeling the weight of having to walk an energetic tightrope to a certain extent that they did not desire to be upon, but they also recognize and understand why, right? And I see even now, like there's so much of that frustration here of masculine, because it's like the masculine trying to navigate how to carry something that feels like they're breaking new ground within the self. While for feminine, I have to say a lot of this feminine energy coming towards, like I want to say this, moving towards masculine energy in separation. And almost here's the thing that's beautiful about that. I see a lot of the feminine energy healing in the context of seeing the masculine kind of going going through those modalities, again, almost moving towards feminine as that sense of like the perpetual student, because like I can almost see a lot of the masculine looking to feminine saying, how do you do it? How do you energetically carry it? Right? Because so much of that here, it feels fundamental, because it feels like there's healing that's happening here via the realm of how one carries change, like how one carries adaptability. And for both of these energies right now, going into that space of nostalgia, it's heavy. It's dense. Like it's like, I want to say even now, it's like almost like quicksand to a certain extent, but that's also the energy that is doing that work, because this is the energy that's not afraid of getting their hands dirty. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, this is a lot of the same thing. This is the energy that's not afraid to get their hands dirty. That's why if they're feeling that sense of weight, right? If they're feeling that sense of weight that's coming into an energetic connection, they're navigating it with a sense of gratitude for the gravitas. They're navigating it with a sense of gratitude for the gravitas, because this is the energy that's not afraid of getting their hands dirty on their own journey. This isn't the energy that avoids that gravitas. This is the energy that feels like if something has gravitas, it's because it's important, it's significant. While for masculine and feminine energy deep within divine union, I just see even now, and this is what's really interesting as it relates to the force of change and how both masculine and feminine energy are navigating it. For masculine, I see even now a profound amount of adaptability that's occurring. This is the gift of being with feminine counterpart to a certain extent, which is a lot of the fat masculine energy being in that modality of being energetically adaptable, except in the realm of the energetic connection. Like this is the energy that goes, I don't know much. I just know the direction. I just know the energetic direction I'm going in. While for feminine energy here, I just see that for a lot of the feminine energy, this is that modality of building forward in pathwork of purpose, wherever that may lead, right? So feminine is feeling adventurous, right? Masculine is feeling energetically adaptable. Continuing to get clarification on these cards, I want to say like between our Fool card in its reversal in combination with our Four of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. We've got here, very happy to see this. We've got here our Ace of Swords in its upright. This is saying to me, with a lot of, there's so much, I got to stress this reading right now. It's like, it's so polarizing because it's all swords and cups. It's all swords and cups. We've only got one, we got a couple wand energies out here. And this is also, I have to point this out. Remember, I want you to go back, if you haven't seen it, head over to my Substack. You're going to see the spread that we pulled during the Taurus full moon. And I even commented on it in the podcast. The whole spread was pentacles. Do you notice there's no pentacles here right now? It's because the full moon has departed. That's a lot of that full moon energy, because that's a pentacle energy, that's a Taurus energy, it's a gravitas. So a lot of that work, right? A lot of that significance, a lot of that heavy lifting, if you will, we see even now that it's having a different impact depending on where you are on the frequency cycles and depending on whether you're more aligned to masculine or feminine energy. Bearing in mind that this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Now, for feminine energy, there's a lot, I see there's a lot of this, I want to say there's a lot of energy of feminine right now that's working from a conservation of energy. I feel like a lot of this energy is taking new approaches to being energetically conservative to a certain extent. And that's what's interesting about it. This is the energy of feminine continuing to be somewhat reserved at this time, but this is the energy that's having new approaches in relationality to how to do that. Right? I told you a lot of that energy that we saw last week of the feminine being like, I'll be in my mind palace, was the feminine kind of navigating forward in such a way and thinking outside the box as it relates to their own feelings of conservation of energy. While for masculine energy right now, I see that there's a lot of adaptability that's been navigated here. There's a lot of the energy right now. This is like masculine coming forward in like a Swiss Army knife kind of way. Like whatever I need to be in that moment, I can bring forth within the self. Like what do you energetically need? And this is how the counterparts are effectively supporting one another at this time, right? Because if the feminine is being more energetically conscientious, right? If the feminine is being more in that space of being trepidatious to a certain extent, doing a lot of that work in the vector of nostalgia, masculine is going towards feminine in such a way and being very energetically adaptable, right? These are not connections that require full parallel in relationality to how they navigate something. It creates that space or place of being able to be energetically what the counterpart needs, but at the same time moving in alignment towards one's own highest sense of self in the process. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is building into the pathwork of prioritization. And a lot of that is the masculine that is being energetically protective of feminine and the choice wherein how the feminine chooses to carry something. While for masculine and feminine energy that are coming into divine union, this is the energy that is feeling the gravitas of the significance of a connection. I see that something about that full moon in Taurus may have felt like a little light bulb going off towards someone in recognition as to how important an energetic connection was or is. And a lot of that energy is recognizing that the value or significance of an energetic connection. What is the value and significance of an energetic connection? It's recognizing how much someone has changed in the experience of being within it. So that ability of identifying and recognizing that, I just see that there's some very fundamental pathwork here that's occurring for both masculine and feminine as they move deeper into a connection. And that doesn't mean that the connection is easy, but that ability of both masculine and feminine to recognize the value and weight of something, sharing that weight together. I see a lot of energy that may be moving into a deepening of a partnership as it relates to recognizing and being able to articulate and share and say to one another, I realize that this is important. And I feel, and another saying, I feel it too, right? Like that is that observation of what is indescribable between us, but mutually acknowledging the density and weight of it. While for energy right now in separation, that refusal to acknowledge right? There could be a lot of energy that just last week moved into separation because of a refusal to acknowledge, which one person was saying, I cannot avoid this. You have to recognize the significance of this energetically. And if another person's in that modality of deniability, if another person's in that modality of not carrying it in the same way, we see that there's fundamental separation that may be occurring there, because that ability of recognizing and identifying that the partnership we create is how we choose to effectively carry something together, right? Like that is that modality that the energy says, I'm not going to force someone. I'm not going to force someone to acknowledge the energetic density that I feel. In fact, I can recognize that someone could be in that space where they feel it, but they're just energetically denying it, or they're not in the path work where it has that significance point, right? So I see even now a lot of that energy working through that to a certain extent and almost navigating forward and healing something that they hold heavy, because I told you even now, some of that energy coming into separation or within separation, the acknowledgement that when we have an energetic strength, when we prioritize something and another person diminishes it, it doesn't take the valuation from it. But another person's priorities, what one holds precious, is the amplification of a healthy, restorative partnership versus a partnership that perpetually feels painful or oppositional because what you're bringing to it, another person does not appreciate or hold preciously. So we see even now that a lot of that energy coming into the recognition of the nature or the quality of what may be causing a prevention point in a partnership. This is what is stabilizing, grounding a lot of the energy in separation. Continuing to get clarification between our King of Wands in its reversal and our Knight of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify. Queen of Pentacles in its reversal. Now we've got some feminine energy coming forward. Bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. And this is why I see masculine energy right now being very energetically protective in how they're moving towards feminine. But is this the masculine energy that is being protective towards feminine as they're coming toward in separation and being prescriptive? Is this the masculine energy that's coming towards feminine and articulating how they should carry something? No, this is a lot of that energy, the masculine that's healed, that's coming towards feminine in separation, working towards being that active listener that we spoke about deeper within divine union, right? Because that ability of identifying and recognizing, that ability of articulating upon, that ability of doing that work, if you will, this is the energy that feels, look at this. Do you see how so much of this masculine here, this is the nostalgia coming into play. And this is a lot of that energy of the masculine that feels very protective of feminine, particularly against other masculine energy, right? Even well-intentioned. Look at this. This is the energy being it doesn't matter if something is well-intentioned. It has to do with the energetic preference of what makes the feminine feel safe, right? Of what feels what energetically safety is. Have you ever noticed that those modalities where someone is saying that they're doing something to make you feel energetically safe, you have to say to them, it doesn't make me feel safe? That ability of articulating and deciding that it makes the self feel safe, that isn't conscientious in how it may make another feel energetically uncomfortable. This is how a lot of the masculine is moving forward in such a way and feeling that sense of protectiveness towards feminine. Because this is the masculine that is almost so much in tune with feminine in separation to a certain extent that they can recognize nuance. They can recognize the healed masculine energy is the masculine energy. They can recognize and identify the power of nuance. And that ability of having a nuanced energetic approach to something, it is the amplification of being conscientious and empathetic versus not being able to read the energetic signs, not being able to read the room. And I see a lot of the masculine energy coming towards feminine in separation, almost emphatically apologizing for masculine energy that can't read the energetic room to a certain extent, right? And this is a lot of the feminine energy that in that modality is actively healing. Because again, the feminine energy having that modality of a masculine that feels protective and strong towards the feminine, but not prescriptive in relationality to what they want to give the feminine. This is the energy that feels that sigh of relief and immediately heals from any context in the past wherein they felt like the masculine energy that they were trying to come into alignment with felt like they knew better than the feminine energy, right? Working towards, right, alignment does not mean that someone feels that they know better than. It feels like you're building with. So a lot of that feminine energy, even here, looking towards masculine with a point of nuance. Everything is about nuance right now. And so even here, we see feminine energy feeling validated, again, almost by the recognition point of healing with masculine energy that feels like they get it. Like it feels like they energetically get it, versus those modalities or experiences of the past wherein the masculine may have said to the feminine, again, the difference between someone saying, I know what is best for you versus I want what is best for you. I know what is best for you feels energetically prescriptive. I want what is best for you is active listening. It's being observant. It's being energetically patient. It's listening, not telling. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, a lot of this energy coming into divine union right now, I just recognize and identify that this is the energy that feels that shift within the self. And it has to do with the point of prioritization as it relates to energetic connections. And this is having a different impact on masculine and feminine energy. For feminine, what's beautiful about this, for some of the energy coming into divine union right now, this isn't the feminine coming towards masculine with that sense of need, right? This isn't the feminine coming towards masculine and saying, I need you to create stability for me. This is a lot of the feminine energy operating in that space of saying that choice of doing so. This is the energy of the feminine that's moving forward in such a way with that sense of an aligned counterpart, creating that feeling of stability within the self that then becomes a gift that we give the counterpart that we're built in connection with. While for masculine, and this is almost a feminine, forgiving the past version of self in the process, saying like, I get it now. I can see how when I bring forth instability towards masculine, I just build that sense of the masculine reflecting it back to me, right? So this isn't the feminine like blaming themselves to a certain extent. This is feminine having accountability for past versions of self. While for masculine, that same ability, looking towards feminine and saying, when I'm not clear, when I don't learn that process of taking what I feel internally and bringing it forward, I'm requiring that the feminine is a mind reader. I'm not looking for an authentic energetic connection with feminine. I'm looking for a feminine energy to like fill in the blanks that I'm leaving energetically blank. I see both of these energies. Do you see how they're challenging themselves? They're coming into a better version of self in the process of moving into connection, because it's not one where they feel like they're perfect. They feel like they're coming to learn about themselves in the process of building into a healthy energetic connection. And that's heavy, because this is the energy looking at having that point now and going, I'm no longer the person I was when I began in that energetic partnership. Continuing forward on these cards right now between our Knight of Swords in combination with our Eight of Swords in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with our Six of Wands in its reversal. Now, for masculine and feminine energy, deep within divine union, I keep seeing that there's something really important that has to do, and we've been seeing this last week too, the difference in relationality to what it is that you aspire for versus energy around you to a certain extent. I just keep seeing that there's something really important about this, because even here, like a lot of this energy deep within divine union does not operate from the space of taking something personally. What does this energy do? Does this energy take things personally? No. Does this energy take things personally on behalf of the counterpart? Yes. Like this is the energy. I told you, this is a lot of that. This has been coming through like wild ever since Scorpio season started, which is like the beauty of the counterpart that's willing to hold the tea, not hold their own tea, but is holding the energetic tea for the counterpart. Right? This is the energy that looks at something and goes, I took that. Like they didn't take that personally. I took that personally. Right? Because that is the energy that experiences or expresses that feeling of care, that intuition, that recognition of knowing someone intuitively is such. What's the beauty of knowing someone intuitively? You can tell what makes them feel energetically uncomfortable. They don't even need to articulate it. You can just see it, right? So there's a lot of this energy deep within divine union. I can almost see the energy like working something through or trying to articulate to a counterpart, and the counterpart almost saying, you don't need to. I totally read that. I totally understood that. I could totally see that, right? Because this is the energy that is when you are in attunement, it almost doesn't require articulation. You can just kind of tell to a certain extent. And I'm going to say this again, that doesn't mean that you need to be a mind reader in order to come into healthy energetic connection. But that is that sense of like the power of love, which is that ability to see something and understand something in a way that you know someone better than they know themselves, right? Like there's a lot of that work there. Now for masculine, and that is the beauty, right? That is the beauty of the energetic connection, because I see even now, if these are the counterparts that doubt themselves along the way, that ability of acting like a clear mirror and saying like, that doubt is what makes you precious. That anxiety is what makes you fierce. This is the energy that comes into that pathwork of refinement, because this doesn't amplify another person's insecurity. It almost refines and articulates and says the reason you feel that is because of who you are. While for masculine and feminine coming into divine union, I just keep hearing a lot of this energy coming into divine union going, oh no, I'm in love. But here's the thing. Like that sense or space, and this is why this full moon may have been leading to some very deepening of energetic commitments. I see even now a lot of gravity or weight being added to some connections, because that ability of doing so, that recognition point, that understanding of how energetically important something is, this is the energy I see even now that feels like they can't avoid it. And the difficulty here, and this is why this may have a different, there could be some energy that fell into separation over this. There could have been some conversations over the weekend about someone saying, what we have here is undeniable. Can't you feel it? Can't you feel the weight? If feminine was in that modality of saying, I feel this energetic weight, do you feel it too? If masculine was in that modality of trying to push something away, like coming into that space of deniability, I see a lot of the feminine energy almost being like, I know that they feel it, but they don't want to acknowledge it. I know that they energetically feel it, but they're reactive to it, right? Because that's the energy that has to do with the directionality that one desires. And if you don't prioritize commitment, and you start feeling like you're caring about someone, that doesn't feel like a blessing. It feels like an energetic burden. And so I see that a lot of the feminine energy in separation, potentially even articulating and acknowledging this, to new counterpart energy. This is a lot of that feminine energy that's learning to heal themselves in the process, because that sense of restoration or even feeling some kind of amplification here of building into a context of masculine, I can see it like feminine having new energetic connections with masculine, and masculine almost like validating that. Masculine being like, yeah, you've hit the nail on the head. like masculine being like, yeah, that's completely true. Like I see a lot of feminine energy that's getting validation for something here. And that's why it feels bittersweet, because it's a feminine feeling validated in terms of moving in the direction that they know is for them, but acknowledging what the limitation was in the past. While for masculine energy right now, a lot of that ability, a lot of that observational pathwork here of masculine and separation, I see even now potentially building forth towards feminine, new energetic connections of the feminine that are articulating again the disparity and the difference of nuance. The valuation point of the feminine, focusing on the prioritization of what it is that they hold with masculine. This feels for the masculine energy and healing like a relief and a release, because it's not that space or that place where you have to build into a point of artifice or imagination and building with a connection with feminine. It's that clarity, it's that perception. And I see even now a lot of the masculine energy recognizing and identifying, feeling the stability of the new energetic connections that they're moving towards, that may be reaffirming that stability is one that has to be, again, just like masculine has to have their words that match their action, feminine must have the energetic strength to match their energetic conviction, right? So I see even now both of these energies working through that. For feminine, it has a lot to do with the looking towards masculine, whose words match their action. But for masculine, it has a lot to do with the feminine being able to have the stability to match their own energetic conviction. And so we see even now both of these energies coming towards one another, potentially healing, but they're frustrated as they do so. They're frustrated as they do so because a lot of that exposition of their journey thus far has been feeling that space of disappointment in what you're seeking in the counterpart, but you have not found. The only way to find something is to find out where it's not. Continuing to get clarification here. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union. Like that is the gravitas and the weight. And this is the weight that says that shift or that changing of the prioritization point is one that builds upon that sense of anything being possible. But while we see right now for the energy deep within divine union, this is what's holding preciousness towards. Final card for today's spread between our Queen of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Six of Wands in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Page of Pentacles in its reversal. Here you see all these pentacles that are finally popping up. This is that full moon hangover from Taurus, right? And I'm just seeing a lot of it here. The beauty of I know this energy has been heavy. I know this energy has been dense. But a lot of that density, I want to say, there's no illusion here. Like it feels to me like a lot of it feels very clarifying in relationality to what one feels and appreciates and sees, right? What one can hold in one's hand versus what one is in that space of accepting. Now for a lot of the energy in separation right now, you can see this. Look at these counterparts in separation. Look at the frustration here, right? Like there's a lot of but this is how I see even now, like these are the counterpart energies in separation that are feeling like really feeling the burden or the weight of some kind of energetic disappointment here, because the understanding and the acknowledgement point, we all go through this. Like we all go through this on a healing journey. Going through a healing journey does not mean that everything just works out in your favor at every moment. It's accepting what isn't moving in alignment to you. It stinks. It stinks. It's frustrating, right? Because it's that moment of identifying that sense of trying to like jam a square peg into a round hole. You know, you can do it, but it doesn't create that sense of alignment. And so we see even now that for a lot of this energy in separation, these are energies that are forming valuable connections by expressing their own energetic frustration in relationality to what they were trying to build with the counterpart versus what they energetically received. And you can see, do you see these? Like, do you see how energetically frustrated they are? Because that's that modality that, and again, it becomes harder sometimes if you're more in that space of healing, because that sense of being able to be one's own authentic self, it can be very polarizing, right? It can be very energetically polarizing because you don't navigate things with as much adaptability, right? It's like being on a healing journey can be really frustrated. It's not for the meek. It's not for the weak. So even here, I can see a lot of energy right now in separation being like, I went on a healing journey and now it's very hard for me to come into connection with someone, right? Because you're holding your energy more preciously. You're holding your energy more preciously. Now for masculine and feminine, a little bit of that reasoning that we're seeing here has a lot to do with what we just said. Feminine, navigating forward in that space of looking towards masculine, whose words match their actions, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Feminine recognizes that there's one valuation point that allows for that context wherein one's words can match their action, and that's time. So it's not surprising that we see even now feminine that's desiring to move towards masculine, but is holding themselves at a bit of energetic reserve. I told you a lot of that taking new approaches. Masculine, doing that same work towards feminine. That ability of recognizing and identifying. I see a lot of the masculine energy in separation that's remembering that ability to articulate a desire must be met with the conviction and the stability to navigate through the desire. It's not just enough to say that you want something. You have to be strong enough to move towards it. So what do we see even now? I told you, this is feminine looking to masculine for change, the Scorpion energy. And this is masculine looking towards feminine for determination, the Taurus energy. So we see even now, like a lot of that conversation may be in the expression of nuance. But these are not the energies that are articulating their frustration to the energetic counterpart or the new energetic counterpart and coming into that space of holding them accountable for it. This is a lot of the energy that's almost navigating that with the nuance of frustration and saying, I could see what that limitation was. I have enough emotional empathy that I didn't take something personally. I can see how someone was struggling with something, but being able to see how someone was struggling with something doesn't fix it. It doesn't come into that space of being able to fix it. It just is that accountability moment. It's just that perception of such. So we see even now that these are the energies that are healing, even in separation, via that form of conversation. Masculine and feminine coming into divine union right now. A lot of this work that we're identifying and recognizing has a lot to do with the changing of the energetic. Do you see this? Like this is the energy that is moving into deepening connection by articulating and saying, this means so much to me, that the prioritization point is I don't want to be without it. Right? That is a lot of that energetic. Look at these energies coming into divine union. That ability of speaking towards how much something means. These are the energies that are already moving deeper into alignment because they're both sharing the distribution of that weight. They're not arguing about it. They're sharing in the intimacy of carrying it together. And that's a lot of the energy deep within divine union right now. This is why we see so much of that energy that is continuing to focus and prioritize, because for a lot of that energy deep within divine union, that sense of desiring to do better and the energetic counterpart that immediately comes towards the aid of the other, the count of the self, and says, you're doing everything perfectly. Don't externalize something you're experiencing and internalize it. Don't overly internalize it. We see even now, like these are the energies that they share the burden because they carry it together. Final card, and in today's spread, we've got here our Devil card in its reversal. It's hard. Like I told you, there's a little bit of this energy right now, and we spoke about this. That incongruity, if you will, like having to navigate something in such a way that it requires one's own ability to, and I want to say this, recognizing what feels like it can heal, recognizing what feels like it can move into that space of energetic healing versus recognizing what one is healing from, right? This is all, like that's all of that energy that we're seeing and identifying to a certain extent that's occurring during some of this full moon that we just had. Because that ability of doing so, you know what I'm going to say here. You can't heal someone that does not desire to heal. If you energetically try to heal someone that does not desire to heal, it's always going to feel like it's energetically harmful, right? That ability or that amplification of recognition of the value and the power of one's own path work. It's having a different impact across the frequencies. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, I see that even now for the energy deep within divine union, you know, that ability of seeing and recognizing, trying to be, and this is what I meant about carrying the tea for one another, that ability of trying to be positive or productive or navigate something in a certain way. These are not energies that feel like they're always in perfect lockstep in relationality to how to handle things. Being able to carry the weight, right? Because I see even now, like that's a lot of the energy that becomes like, you know, passionate for the counterpart. wanting to come into that modality of saying, like, I know you don't take something energetically personally, but I do, right? A lot of that sense, this is the energy that redistributes their own tea between themselves, because this is the energy that effectively like works through to a certain extent and almost feels like they're healing for the sake of the partner. Like they're working through the counterparts. Like the counterparts' healing journey is so much a part of theirs that they take things personally because it feels like they're connected to them in that way. Like this is the energy that like is also sharing that healing journey together. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is I want to say coming, and this is that intuition, right? That sense of being able to know when something energetically bothers the counterpart and vice versa. While for masculine and feminine, it doesn't even bear speaking. While for masculine and feminine that comes into divine union right now, a lot of this work that we're seeing that is occurring during this time, for a lot of this energy coming into divine union, this is the energy that I want to say is coming into that space of looking at the past version of self and having notes. But I need to stress this. This is what we call inner child healing, right? This is what we call inner child healing because, again, a lot of that work that we see here, a lot of that observation of path work, a lot of that recognition, if this is the energy that sees something that they would do in a different way, if this is the energy that recognizes and identifies the past version of self and what requires change, well, congratulations, you're no longer that version of self, right? You can take accountability towards it, but remember that that is not like, that too is what brought you on this path work. That's not separate from your energetic journey. That's part and parcel of it. While for masculine and feminine energy, in separation right now, a lot of this energy is healing. You're just not healing in the way that you would have aspired for, right? Because that modality, that recognition point, I see even now that either there's energy that's fallen into separation over argumentation over something that is fundamental versus what another person is trying to trivialize, be it the partnership or one's own like perspective on things. And so we see even now what's difficult about some of those separation points is it's not the fact that you desire something to be different, but it's acknowledging what is within your own power to change versus what you would have to accept to be able to perpetuate a partnership. This is not energy that says, I want to stay in energetic connection with someone, even if it's terrible. Like this isn't the energy going, no matter what it takes, I want to be with this energetic connection. This is the energy that's healed enough that recognizes the difference between the value of what a connection is, like what it means, how it feels. And when you come into that space and you're assessing and recognizing the nature of an energetic connection, it can be frustrating because it doesn't articulate the fact that you don't feel a lot of energy towards something. It's more you recognizing the nature of it. That is where we find is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a couple of updates before we move towards our personal readings for today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who joined us in our chariot class last week. It was such a delight to be able to go over that card with you. Our next class will be held on Wednesday, December 18th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern, we will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the Strength card. If you would like to become a part of that class program, all you need to do is head over to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your paid subscription to my Substack will be our access and entry into our live classes each month. You'll also have access to the full library and repository of previous classes. So now is a perfect time to join because you've got about 8 hours of material to catch up on. It's not necessary to catch up prior to our next class. I will be giving recaps in each of our classes, but the materials are there when you're ready to receive them. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything that we've learned thus far. And if you become a founding member to my Substack, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, but you will also receive a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, wherein I will assess where you are on your own personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage going forward. One of the things I tried to do with these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. So I want to thank you if you're just joining us there for the first time, and I look forward to seeing you at our next class. And even if you don't become, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, please make sure that you head over to our subscriber-only Discord channel. There you will find an additional coupon code to give you an additional discount on that Substack subscription. Even if you don't become a founding member to my Substack, I would encourage you to follow me there, because over there we often post weekly newsletters, which will let you know about my in-person events as well as my live schedule. You'll also be able to follow our podcast, which gives you a full photo of each day's spread. You'll also get to find out about our giveaway winners. Speaking of giveaways, we are in the process of holding our December giveaway. If you would like to win a free private tarot reading with me, simply head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that travel survey will grant you an entry into the giveaway, but if you would like to increase your chances of winning, go ahead and forward that survey to a friend, because when I pull the winner, I'll be gifting a reading not only to the person that wins, but also the person that referred them. Finally, I want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These can be focused on whatever area of spiritual growth or personal spiritual development you are most interested in pursuing. These are customized per each student. I take a very limited number of students for this reason. These classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series. That is 4 45-minute classes, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my clients that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, weekly or bi-weekly as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again